Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching. You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy,
etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
On Sunday, October 19th at 5:45 p.m. at the Triangle Cinemas Screening Room 4, we will be able to watch the documentary based on a Disney legend named Bob Gurr. The film is entitled Bob Gurr, Living by Design. Today, I have the director with me. My God, Frank H. Woodward, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Listen, I get to talk to you. I get to talk about Bob Gurr. Even if you don't know who Bob Gurr is by name, you know his work. I'm going through the documentary that you produced. You were kind enough to send me an early screener, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching this, and I was like, I've been on that, I've been on that, I've been on that, I've been there, and I'm like, did this guy just design my entire life from the '70s into 2025?
Hey, look, Bob was there from the beginning. He was one of the first Imagineers on the first theme park ever in America. I mean, he's been there since the early days.
You know, I wish Bob was my geometry teacher in high school, because if so, I would have been an engineer. My father was an engineer. I have a lot of relatives that are engineers, but the way I thought they taught engineering was wrong, because they'd always teach you concept first and then go, oh, by the way, this is what you could develop with it. And to me, it's like, if you tell me, hey, check out this airplane, and then backwards design and teach us how to do it, then I'd be more interested in it.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing with Bob, as he'll mention, and he mentions in the film, he's not a licensed engineer. He's one of those guys that just has a knack for figuring out how things are supposed to work.
The interesting thing with Bob's generation is that the line between blue collar and white collar was very blurred. It was almost like, let's call it sky blue in that regard. You know, there was a level of respect between the white collar and the blue collar that blended, because everyone kind of got their hands dirty to some extent. And then eventually it kind of separated so far off that white collar is only theory and blue collar is only application, and very rarely do the two intersect and work together to make it fun and durable.
And that is kind of what they were striving for, whether or not they could word it that way at the time. And that's now launched in industry, as you mentioned. We see all these attractions that not only Bob worked on, but all these other people that came up under Bob. Some of the designers and Imagineers, Tom Morris, who we interview in there in the documentary, Christopher Merritt, who's a former Imagineer, also working on Universal right now. Those guys learned from the lessons that Bob and those other Imagineers like Roger Broggie and Harper Goff and all those guys learned as well. So it's really humbling to sit in the room with somebody who has that much experience and who's just so very easygoing about everything. That's Bob to a T. The documentary, we had to pick a path with Bob, because he's done so much. He's been alive. He's going to be 94 at the end of October. You have to pick a path with him because he's done so much, even just more than Disneyland.
Right.
And we picked a path that was, let's talk about the man. Let's talk about the stuff that makes him tick, that makes him excited, that made him want to go off and try to design anything, let alone a theme park.
Right. But here we are, like, it was in his 60s and he's like doing a barrel roll for the first time. And then he's in his 70s and he's designing the ship at Treasure Island and trying to figure out how to unsink a battleship. Like, you know, who comes up with these ideas? Yeah. And they're like, here he is. And now he's still going on cruises. And I realize that the cruise ship that he goes on every year, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going on that ship for Thanksgiving. So, like, it's very interesting to see how he's still out there.
He is. He's going to keep going until I guess he can't. Yeah. I don't want to speak too much for Bob's future plans, but I know he loves life and he wants to keep doing and experiencing and gaining new knowledge. In fact, I'm supposed to see him tomorrow, and we're actually going to be talking about the cycles of world history and how we're all just on one big hamster wheel, if you really think about it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's the topic of conversation tomorrow.
Well, the thing that I'm going to give one spoiler, and it's only one scene,
Please.
and it's when you guys take Bob to Disneyland, and everything is like if the people there didn't know who he was, they just look at him and go, "Who is this crazy old man that said that's mine, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine?" Not realizing that literally it is his, the fire engine, the yellow car, the 1903 vehicle, because it's so many. I don't want to call it a car because it's one manufacturer, but it's inspired by Ford Model T and so many other cars in there. The gear shifts from the 1930s, the submarine ride, the monorail. I was like, we might as well call it Gurland at some point.
There's a stretch in Disneyland which I think they should name Gur Alley, because in one diagonal stretch you've got Autopia, you've got monorail, you've got submarine, and you have the Matterhorn, and that's all right there in plain sight. You can if you're lucky enough. Like, actually, you probably can't get in the middle of the Autopia track to get the line just right, but it's all Bob's work.
So then that begs the question: what's your favorite ride?
Of the Gur design rides,
Yeah.
to be it, and this speaks to me as a Disney Parks kid. When I was younger, it would have been something like the Matterhorn. And I mean, even though he designed the Doom Buggy for Haunted Mansion, I'm a huge Haunted Mansion fan. He designed the ride vehicle for that ride and other rides too, the Omni Mover. As I'm getting older, I find that the rides and attractions that my parents wanted to go on, and I was like, why are we going to that boring stuff? That's what makes me excited today. So the Main Street vehicles, the omnibus, riding those around gives me joy. Even Autopia gives me joy. I still think of it as a lot of people do. Oh, that old antique ride, it should go away. But then you get on it, and it's like me, a kid learning to drive for the first time again.
Right. I will say it's the monorail, and the monorail story and the kidnapping, and that's the tease that they're getting.
Oh yeah,
is hilarious.
Look, the monorail is of all the things he's done. And don't get me wrong, you asked me that question is like having to pick my favorite child,
right?
Because all the things he's designed have touched my life and continue to give me pleasure every time I go to Disneyland or Disney World. The monorail, though, is that one thing that he had a hand in that transcends all the other theme park type of stuff. Older cars and stuff like that, car and ride vehicles. We've seen things develop from there, but monorails, it's something that lasted beyond the park. Some of the older monorails were sold to Vegas, and they were using the old Disney World monorails in Vegas for a while.
It's
and
amazing.
Here comes Ernie.
And Ernie Alonso is joining us as soon as everything kicks on. So we're looking forward to talk to the executive producer on this. Technology is sometimes a little slow, so we're waiting for Ernie. Ernie, we can hear you, but we can't see you yet.
Can't see me? Let me see. Let's see. What am I doing wrong here? The meeting is being recorded. Okay. Here we go.
There we go. Ernie Alonso, the executive producer. Do you mind turning your phone sideways so we can get a better shot of you? Or, horizontal instead of vertical?
Oh.
There we go. And you are right near Indiana Jones at Disneyland.
Close. It's the Tiki Room. Yeah, Bob's in there right now, actually.
Bob Gurr is at the Tiki Room. There is a scene later on in the documentary with Mr. Holt and the redesign of some updated versions of the birds that he's doing with his students. Would we maybe see some of those upgrades to the Tiki Room at some point?
Not that I know of. I'm not sure, but I don't know. Where's Frank? I hear him.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
I hear him. I'm right here. You may not be able to see me. Yeah, the Garner stuff, that's all kind of tied into one of the things that I enjoyed about learning about Bob was his dedication to learning. He was mentored by Strother McMinn at Art Center School, and then he went and mentored Garner Holt, and Garner Holt and Bob both have their hands in educating the future generations. And those tiki birds you see in the film are a project that is all about education.
And they're absolutely gorgeous. So here's the interesting thing with your documentary, especially about Bob Gurr, who deserves a documentary. But the problem is whittling down 94 years into 95 minutes. How do you do that? And two, how does this not become a 10-episode limited series on Disney Plus?
Well, Frank can answer that because he had to figure that all out and pick out the best that we had. There was so much that could have been in the movie, but I think Frank did a great job of capturing the essentials and the parts that really tell Bob's story in the best way possible.
Oh, thanks, Ernie. Yeah, I mean, it's true. We shot many hours of footage and had to whittle it down. It kind of goes back to what originally we were talking about. With Bob's life, there are so many things that you can talk about if you want to be this comprehensive piece. And yeah, it could very easily turn into a 10-episode piece. But when you decide that you're going to do a feature-length film, you have to pick an aspect or a story from somebody's life. Because if you try to tell somebody's whole life, it's going to be very like you just genuflect here, genuflect there. So that's why we made the decision to tell the story about Bob the man, because those things, his love of cars, his love of aviation, his sense of curiosity and discovery, those are the things you catch from him when you see him and talk to him for any length of time. So it seemed the logical thing to go, and that helps. Of course, it doesn't mean that I don't get people saying, why didn't you talk more about this? Why didn't you talk more about that? Well, maybe we'll do a sequel.
Because we only have 95 minutes to do it. That's why. Yeah.
That's pretty much the short answer is that we only have 95. Some babies have to be sacrificed.
Well, Ernie's at Disneyland right now in Anaheim, California. We're going to the Newport Beach Film Festival, also in Orange County. This is a bit of a homecoming in a sense. Is this the world premiere or the West Coast premiere?
We had the world premiere in April. Was it April, Frank?
Yep, end of April.
So no, we showed it. Then was the world premiere, and then we had a screening in Orlando recently. But this will be one of the few times that the public, besides the Bowers Museum event that we did, that the public will be able to watch it and purchase tickets for it.
Yeah. Well, I know they're going to be excited. People are going to be wearing their ears, I can tell already. So it's going to be a good time. Bob got his own Funko Pop. He literally got turned into a toy. Like, that's got to be something in and of itself. And the reveal was just so sweet and so genuine. When you capture a moment like that, that's so earnest and so authentic, do you know which moments are like, just from shooting them at a certain angle and go, that one's in, like, instantaneously?
Frank? I don't think there's any. There are definitely things in the process of making a documentary that you want to keep in there as best you can. But part of the joys of making a documentary, the way I make them, is that you leave yourself a lot of room to discover things and discover threads as you're putting things together. We shot the Funko Pop thing because it was a major moment in Bob's career and his life. We full well expected it to be in the documentary, and it ended up being there. But it wasn't something that I knew for sure was going to make it until I was trying to put things together, and it made sense. It was a nice progression. In that little montage, we're showing how Bob's fandom, like, I don't know, how many followers does Bob have on Instagram now, Ernie?
I think 135 or 36,000. 135 or 36,000.
I mean, Bob's got a following, so you have to touch about how popular he is beyond just being the man who designed the rides at Disneyland. And the Funko Pop, like you said, that's kind of the crowning moment in a lot of ways as far as pop culture goes.
Yeah. He also with that honor, he also was inducted into the Funko Celebrity Hall of Fame, which is a new thing that they started. He's actually the first inductee into that. So that was really awesome. And Mike Becker, the guy that founded Funko, has become really good friends with us, and he was really instrumental in getting the Bob Gurr Pop produced. So that was awesome.
Yeah, going through the documentary, and it's not just a nostalgia fest, but it's also, my God, how joyous this man is and how hopeful he is and excited just for life. I mean,
Yeah.
he's dancing on a cruise ship. You know, the what's it called? The documentary is going to be there on the 19th in Newport. His birthday is only 6 days later, and he's getting excited for it. Any birthday festivities that we might want to check out, or are we trying not to spoil a
Nothing
surprise?
public. Nothing public. He's got a little private dinner. He's having on his actual birthday on the 25th. He usually goes on a cruise every October, but he's going to set that one out this year. But he'll be celebrating here and there, and he kind of drags out the celebration through the whole month of October. So doing a little celebrating here already at Disneyland today.
What's it like going to Disneyland with a Disney legend?
You know what? Something that I don't really think about as often because I just don't. Actually, here he is now. This way, Bob. This way. Bob, wait. Bob, wait.
Hi, Bob. Bob Gurr just rolling
There he
through.
goes. You know, it's something that I don't really think of too often, but just when I'm actually recording the reels for Instagram, then, you know, I stop and think sometimes that this is a really special for me to be able to stand in front of this man and record his oral history of just these amazing stories he has about such an iconic place. And to be here, to have worked with Walt Disney personally and have had time with him and conversations, it's pretty amazing. So, and then, you know, we have fans that come up and want photos and autographs and stuff. And, you know, Bob just loves doing that. He really gets energized from that. So it's always a little different each time we come, but it's unforgettable for sure.
You know, there's a moment in the documentary which I don't want to spoil. We'll hint at. It's towards the end, and it shows part of Bob's personal philosophy of, you know, I could be frustrated in this moment, or I could turn it into a game and check out various designs of things. And,
Yeah.
you know, once everything started moving along, it was almost like a disappointment that there wasn't more time to enjoy what could have been a frustrating moment. And I was like, wow, that's an interesting way to look at it. And I'm trying not to spoil it because we want people obviously to come out on the 19th. But it's just one of those things like, I haven't had that perspective before. So it's very interesting to see that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of what kind of keeps them going and keeps them energized is just really focusing on the things that really matter and kind of trying to put aside the things that are inconvenient or just a hard truth. And it's really helped them, you know, be vibrant and be around with us for so long. That and the fact that he's so active.
Yeah.
Frank, when you guys finally decided to make the documentary, obviously you said we want to focus on the man, but there had to have been moments of like, are we going to focus just on the Disney aspect because, you know, that's what he's well known for? Are we going to focus on him as the person growing up and his childhood? Like, how did you finally decide on the man, and what was the catalyst that fully launched it into going, all right, this is the day we're going to start shooting?
Well, there were discussions with Bob initially because Bob is a very well-known figure, and he has his Instagram followers. He's been in many wonderful documentaries about the making of the Disney parks, like Imagineering Story. So actually, one of the conversations that Bob had with us before we got started was that he didn't really want it to be a Disney-centric documentary because that kind of had been done. And as you get to know him more and get to know about his philosophies of life and get to know about the things that made him the man he is today, you realize there's so many other stories to cover, and it's stuff that people haven't necessarily heard before. I mean, yes, the monorail story, which is a lot of fun in the documentary and is always lovely to hear and fun, is one he's told before. So we wanted to do some of the hits,
right,
but also show people things they've never really had a chance to learn, which is why you go into his childhood. And I think it also allows Bob to share philosophies like he did that you're referring to at the end of the film.
from the documentary, we're almost infected by his joy just watching along. You know, how infectious is
Oh,
his
that's
joyous
weird.
personality when you're with him?
What? Ernie?
It's it keeps you, I tend to be grouchy sometimes after a little while, or if things don't go 100%. And Bob always kind of has a way of looking at me if it gets too obvious, and just reminds me, he's always looking on the bright side of things. There could be any situation that happens, or maybe the day goes like totally different than what we were planning. He always has a way, and it's fast. He doesn't have to think about it quick. He always has a way to really take situations that's not that great, and turn it around and look at the positive. So it's kind of helped me in my everyday dealings, just in my own life, just to look at things like that, not let the small situations upset me so much.
You know, so what's the celebration for his 94th birthday? Is he going skydiving at this point with how energetic he still is?
Well, I
He
don't
doesn't
know.
know it, but yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
Frank,
tandem dive with him.
there you go. Frank, as a filmmaker, you always learn something about yourself when you're studying a subject, and especially somebody like Bob.
Sure.
And then there's also aspects of, because you have that personal relationship, pulling back and being separated from it as the filmmaker. What's something that you learn about yourself, and what are moments that you pull back and reflect on as, this is a scene that's for the film and I can't get too personal with it?
Oh wow. Okay, that's a heavy one. Things I learned. I mean, the philosophy of life that Bob talks about towards the end of the film, and actually what it's, even though he puts it in words at the end of the film, I think you see it throughout. And it is that joyous approach to life. It's about being curious. It's about having a curious mind. And it's very easy in this day and age to let that aspect of yourself shut down, or take things too heavily. As Bob helped me in a lot of ways lighten up, which I think also helped my creativity, because it really inspired me to try to do more with the film than just a standard talking head thing.
Right.
As far as this, what things that are so personal that you didn't want to mess with them, I am telling somebody's story, even though I'm the editor and the filmmaker, and I'm choosing what angles and what trimmings and cuttings and what cutaways. I always try to be very true to the spirit of the person, because I'm telling the story. I'm the storyteller, but it's not my story; it's Bob's.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we represent what Bob feels truthful, and it is his truth.
Yeah.
And that's him probably shaking his head at me right now.
Oh, who's that?
There he is.
Bob Gurr, I'm
I
Robert
thought you were
Samo.
talking to
That's
Frank.
Me.
Oh no,
Frank's here too.
he's interviewing us for the film festival.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
So from one Robert to another, it is a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Gurr.
Okay. Well, you wanted me to wave to him, but I didn't know who it was.
Oh yes.
I thought you were talking to Frank.
Oh, I am. We're doing an
Oh, yeah.
interview. He's interviewing us for the film festival.
Yeah, I know he, but who is he?
Tell him who you are.
My name is Robert Samo. I'm with Fanboy Nation, and I get to interview you as we're preparing for the Newport Beach Film Festival on the 19th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was just I was racing by on a scooter, and he says, "Wave, wave."
We got a drive-by hi from you at that
yeah.
point.
I'm running a little late and catching up.
Right. Well, it's all right. Thank you,
Well,
Bob.
now, there's a moment here, actually, RC, if I may.
Please.
Is Bob having a traditional Dole Whip, or is he having a swirl?
That's what we were about to ask.
I don't know what's the difference. We got it from the Tropical Hideaway. It looks like a swirl.
Well, it's just a straight up pineapple, not like pineapple or cherry or anything.
No, it's a regular, yeah.
Okay.
It's a
You got to
traditional
keep it
one.
classic.
Traditional, I guess, yeah.
It's a Dole Whip.
Either way, we're eating Dole Whip. Oh, Frank, you want to have a spoonful? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Bob. Oh, yeah, the best stuff. And
Not
that's
only
what
good, it's
filming
good
is.
for you.
I believe it. Is there a moment that, or a story that you guys got to film?
Hey, thank you for, oh, sir, thank you for the gold. It's all you pay something. Okay.
Is there? I'm sorry.
You can earn
Bob's thanking somebody for the Dole Whip. I was asking, was there a
Oh.
moment that you filmed, a story or something that you thoroughly enjoyed and you're like, this is a fantastic moment, but just didn't fit the narrative and had to be cut?
Well, Frank, you
Sure.
probably know.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, for me personally, Herb Ryman, who was one of the Disney artists and conceptual artists, he just did the big sketch of the aerial view of Disneyland that got them the money to build the park. He just did sketch concept art for Sleeping Beauty's castle, all sorts of things. Well, he and Bob were very good friends, and Herb, before he passed away, bought some shoreside property in Big Sur, which he intended to become an artist community. It's become known as Herbie's Rocks. And we went there with Bob to see the rocks, and it's a little bit of it is in the documentary. But it was Bob talking about his fond memories of being with Herbie and the little shenanigans that we get up to every now and then. It was a great moment. But when you're trying to cut things down for time, we took it out because it wasn't about Bob, it was about Herbie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you have to make an executive decision. Like, this is a great story to hear. Disney fans will love to hear it, but it's outside of what's essential to the movie.
But you got some beautiful footage in Big Sur.
Beautiful footage, and I got to go, so that's even better.
Yeah.
I'm a physical media guy, so if there is ever a DVD and it's a bonus feature, that's something to think about.
Oh,
Yeah,
there will be. We're all talking about it in small ways right now, but we know that a DVD, Blu-ray release is in our future, and there will be a lot of extra stuff.
Oh, fantastic. I would love a copy because truly, I want everybody to sign it. Like when you meet artists and musicians, you can't have them sign your phone. I like having the physical album or the CD or the DVD in hand because it becomes a memento at that point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Was there a
Ernie
moment?
and I are both collectors.
Was there a moment while making the documentary that became surreal and going, wow, we really have something here, and this is a powerful moment that really is going to affect everything?
Play the whole thing.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah,
the whole thing
kind
is
of.
great from start to
He's
finish.
right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, every time you go out in the world, what I enjoyed, and this is something we had discovered in the planning stages, so it wasn't necessarily in editing. This was is just how many times Bob's life crisscrosses and intersects different aspects of his life, and shooting at the Grand Central Air Terminal with him is one of those moments because it's the place where he, as a child, first discovered his love of planes and aviation. It's where World War II was a major training ground in World War II, and World War II is a major part of Bob's life because he was a young man coming up. And then, of course, later on, it became one of the hubs of Disney's Imagineering campus. It became a central Disney building where Bob worked as a manager. So, and then, of course, they restored it later on as an historic building, and Bob was very instrumental in that because he was one of the few guys who knew what it looked like in the original states. So these things, all these, like the cycles of nature that Bob will talk to you about if you ever get him talking about history, these connections is what's really fun to see.
Right.
And when you find them there, that's the serendipity of it all is kind of makes your hair stand up a little bit. You're just like, ooh, I think we found something here.
Right.
Something a little bit more cosmic.
Ernie, would I be able to ask Bob one question if possible?
Yes. Hold on a second.
All right.
Bob, he wants to ask you a quick question.
Okay,
Bob,
go.
since you are at Disneyland right now, what is something you noticed that has changed the most about the park? And what's something that's still as authentic as it was in 1955 when the park opened?
Well, bluntly put, what's changed in 70 years? The girth of the guests. That's the first thing you notice. Second thing is the trees are so big and beautiful. But the things that never changed are the subtle details and story intent and script and words and music of Walt Disney.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's got to be an experience after 70 years of the park being there and having worked on it, and now seeing that the joy of people that still are able to come to the park and, give their kids that experience that they had.
Absolutely. Recognizing every decade the world has changed and goes in different directions, and it never backs up. It's always going forward. Another 70 years, I should come back and check again. All right, yeah.
Thank you so much for that one, Bob. Yeah. By then, we'll have a monorail that actually runs around the country rather than just around the park.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they'd say, put it.
Right, it go around like that. Actually, I'm eating a yellow volcano.
So Frank, with everything that continues to move forward and Bob still having his sense of humor, this had to have been, while filming this, just a laugh riot from start to finish.
Mostly, sure, but I mean, there is a sense of responsibility I would carry sometimes. I want to make sure things worked right. And, we're also an independent production too. I mean, one of the things that also dictates whether or not something is going to be a short film, a feature-length film, or a series is clearly budget. And we were doing this as a labor of love, so we had to make the most out of whatever resources we had. One of our best resources, of course, is Bob, because he's so beloved and so respected in all the fields that he works in. It opens a lot of doors for us. So we got to do things and see things which were really something that I'll always remember. And I have the film to look at, but I also have my own memories of being there and seeing it happen. So it was very special.
So how long did it take to finally piece everything together? Because there's so much information there, there's so much time spent together, that it goes from this friendly relationship to this professional one to now being pieced together as a 95-minute documentary.
I think from the time that, because Ernie had met our other producer, Joe Campana, at some function where the two of them were talking about, like, it has to be a documentary about Bob sometime. And from that time to sitting down, conception, shooting, editing, I'm saying was roughly 2.5 years.
Yeah, that seems pretty quick for a documentary.
I had nothing else going on.
Guys,
world-
I'm gonna have to go in a second. But do you have anything else, or for me?
Ernie, thank you so much for
Thank you guys.
for
Thank you
sharing
for
the
doing
documentary
this.
with me.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Frank.
So to expand on that a little bit, RC, the truth is that, like a lot of serendipity in filmmaking, and there's a lot of consequences, a lot of things that just kind of happen, and you have to, like, Orson Welles, wearing the shirt, said that sometimes directing is moderating over accidents,
right,
or more to the point, things that aren't expected. When we started talking to Bob about doing this, that was right when the double strike happened in Hollywood. So a lot of the day job stuff I do in the business was not there anymore. So I literally did not have anything else to do that summer. And I was like, okay, well then we're shooting this thing. We're going to put the pedal to the metal and keep going. And so that kind of stuff does happen.
And you made it work.
It also doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that filmmakers are nuts.
Sometimes so are their subject matters.
Oh yes, very much.
I mean, let's be honest. You got to be a little crazy to go, you know what? A 30-foot King Kong animatronic. Let's do it.
Let's just do it. Exactly. And Bob says that in the film. A lot of the times when they came to him with these ideas, he's just like, I want to meet the people that are mad enough to try this. And oh, wait, that's me.
Yeah, the poor soul that's going to get stuck with this. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah,
The-
that's me. Yeah.
the documentary flows so well and so
Oh,
thorough
cheers.
that, I want to congratulate you on that, because I'm sitting there and I'm watching, hour and 45 minutes total, and I'm just like, wow, there's so much more that could have been said, but it leaves you wanting more yet still satisfied.
If you leave the piece, and a lot of people who came to the premiere who didn't know really who Bob was, came up to me afterwards and said this, was that they felt the joy, but they were just so amazed at all the different things that he had done that first thing they did when they went home was they Googled and started digging deeper. You want your audience to want more. You want them to be inspired to have conversations in the car and as they go home. Or as one friend told me, he went to Disneyland a couple of days after seeing the film for the first time because he wanted to walk. He didn't want to do Indiana Jones or Galaxy's Edge. He wanted to go see all the stuff that Bob was talking about.
So then, how did Bob inspire you post documentary? Like, the final cut is in the can, it's completed, it's ready to show audiences. How has he inspired you post documentary?
Well, I mean, he's definitely shaped me in the sense of my personal philosophies, the Buddhist philosophies, which he talks about in the film. I hear them and I say, you know what? He's absolutely right. I should observe those more. So those have left a mark. But as far as inspiring goes, whenever you're making a film of any sort, I mean, at the end of the day, you just hope people like it. In a documentary, especially when you're dealing with somebody who's still alive, you hope that they like it. And Bob kept himself intentionally in the dark about the film a lot. He didn't really want to know. He wanted to know the basic structure of what I was going for, but he didn't want to know all the details. He didn't want to see rough cuts along the way. He wanted to see it fresh with audiences. And when he did, and he gave me his reaction, which was approved. He loved it. And that made me feel good. It made me feel inspired to do more, if you will, because okay, there's also, I mean, I've been in film production for over 30 years and producing documentaries, like probably for the last like 10, 15. And in spite of all your experience, there's always a moment when you're like that imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. Like, am I really any good? Am I just like lying to myself and others? And then when you finally do a film and it's well received and hearing what you say and what other people have said, then I'm like, phew, okay, yeah, maybe I have something. Let's see what I've got.
You definitely have something, and bringing it to Orange County, just 12 miles away from the park, is definitely going to bring people in.
Oh, I hope so. I think, and Orange County looms large for Bob, and not only because Disneyland's there, but in Newport Beach itself, that's where the firms were that helped build the first Autopia cars. You know, we kind of give them a little tip of the hat in the film, and Bob's early history is very much tied to Orange County and Newport Beach itself.
Well, in a sense, and again, trying not to give a spoiler, Bob kind of has his own version of a hidden Mickey in the park.
Well, kind of, yeah, a little bit.
So
yeah, the man's there in his DNA, his blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, going forward with everything, the parks themselves, Bob's life, his enjoyment, his excitement. What's the one lesson from this documentary that you would like audiences to get, especially on October 19th, being at the 26th Annual Newport Beach Film Festival?
For me, the importance of having a curious mind. That's why the subject of mentorships and the fact that we start off really in Bob's library with all the books he has, all the books he's bought to teach him everything from forming a company to why dust storms form. I think that thirst for curiosity, that thirst for discovery, and the joy of those things, I think that's very much in Bob's life, and if it inspires people to do likewise, I think we've become a uncurious group of people, and we don't dig deep as we used to. Yet we have tool at our fingertips, which allows us to dig as deep as we wish. If people can walk away with that joy of wanting to feed that curiosity, I'll be happy.
Frank, stick around for a couple of minutes after we're done with the interview, but I wanted to thank you today for talking to me about the film Bob Gurr, Living by Design. Again, Sunday, October 19th, 5:45 p.m. at the Triangle Cinemas, Screening Room 4. I'll link everybody to everything. Make sure to be there, especially if you want to have a bit of hope in your life. This one will definitely give you that and joy. Where can we find you, Bob, and the documentary on social media if we want to connect with you?
Well, Bob, of course, is on Instagram. He has the Bob Gurr official Instagram site. I highly encourage people to visit it. If for any other reason, it's all, you can always, a Bob documentary almost every post, because he's always talking about something Disney as well. So it's a nice little companion piece. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Insta. I'm on Blue Sky. I have a little YouTube channel. You can find me out there as well. Frank H. Woodward. I don't hide. I'm out there.
Frank, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I did my best not to give any spoilers.
Oh, no, you did great. You did fantastic.